Okay.
And we're live.
We are live. It's an impromptu one tonight.
Yeah, bit of a last minute one.
Just a quick get together.
Yeah, just a bit of a check-in. So
Cheers, brother.
yeah, I saw the good health. And welcome back, everybody. Tonight I've gone with the Peterson Christmas pipe with the lovely stem and big bowl, and I've gone with some Cajun cake in there. It's feeling like a little bit of Perique. Just a little break from all the burley I smoke.
Well, funny you mention that because I kind of, not Cajun, but I've gone for Redburn, which is a sister blend. That's got a bit of burley in there, but there's also some bit of Perique in there as well.
This is
Red Virginia.
Rum case.
Case.
Yeah, it's nice that. I've not smoked that for a while actually.
It's good.
I will get back around to that definitely. Nice and sweet.
Yeah, back on the after a few weeks of chocolate flake and back to the English blends and a bit of Swedish, a bit of Scandi blends.
Oh yeah.
On the 1931
31, yeah.
flake, Peter Stockerby, Peter Stockerby. Back on the C&D tonight, and it's good. It's very nice.
Yeah. I've really been taking with the C&D blends just lately. I mean, I've been smoking a bit, dipping into the Gowth a little bit here and there, and like you said, some of the Eric Stockerby, but I've mainly been smoking the C&D stuff.
Yeah, I've gone for the old Malvern, the Blakemore Malvern tonight.
Always admire that pipe.
It's a cracking little pipe.
Yeah. So we had a good little night last night. We had a movie night.
Yeah.
And we watched Casino, Martin Scorsese's Casino. Didn't go for a horror, we went for Casino.
Yeah.
We've been saying that we're going to watch it for a while. And we had a couple of cigars.
Yeah.
Kindly on Dion.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
We had a nice bit of Tawny Port. We had a nice bit of whiskey, and it was a good night.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. And speaking of port, that's what we got tonight.
Yes.
So I've gone for it's not quite a ruby. It's a vintage.
An LBV.
It's an LBV.
Yeah, and it's very nice.
And it's good. Yeah, it's good. That's Taylor's.
Yeah, beautiful. We had Taylor's last night.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's old, very old. So we discussed this. Is it a winery? How would you describe? It's not a brewery.
It's not a brewery. It's not a distillery.
It's not a distillery. It's not a vineyard as such.
Yeah. I think I'll go with winery. Yeah, because I mean it is a wine. It's just that it's apparently what they do is they halt the fermentation at an earlier point in the process.
Yeah.
And it retains more of the sugars, which would obviously get eaten up by the ethanol.
Yeah, so I treated you to my favourite Scorsese film of the three, so the mob triptych, that being Goodfellas, Casino, and The Irishman.
Yeah.
Love all three for different reasons, but Casino is my favourite. That's not a popular choice. I think most people tend to agree that Goodfellas is the pick of the three, and I can kind of see why, because it's so true and faithful to not just the source material, but the source material itself is very true and faithful to what actually happened.
Right.
So you got Henry Hill, and you got his wife Karen. You've got Tommy, which is Tommy DeVito in the film, but it's Tommy DeSimone in real life. Tommy Two Guns. For good reason why they called him that. It's basically just like a proper six shooter kind of a guy, and Jimmy Burke in real life, Jimmy the Gent, Jimmy Conway in the film. But so they keep a lot of the names are very similar. The way that it's like the timeline, like they're very, very faithful. Casino not so much, but it's based around the life of Lefty Rosenthal. So in the film, obviously Sam H. Rothstein, and his wife Ginger, who in real life was Jerry McKee.
All right.
So yeah, and then Tommy, Joe Pesci plays Nicky Santoro, who in real life was Tony Spilotro, and the similarity. I didn't get a chance to show you last night the picture of side by side of Joe Pesci and Tony Spilotro. That shot where he said, "Watch yourself there, don't get run over." That there's a shot where they're walking across the street on the news footage. It's news as they're filming Nicky coming out of the courthouse, filming Tony Spilotro coming out of the courthouse. Side by side, man, it's just absolutely nailed it. He's got him so absolutely pat down to the point where some of the dealers in some of the old casinos that had been around, some of the old heads, knew Tony Spilotro. They called him the Ant. So they knew the Ant, and they were like ringing up the gaming commission, like, this guy's back in the casino, like, what's he doing here? Even though he'd been like dead a little while like that, or he'd not been in the picture. So yeah, but like I kind of described it to you as like almost like a kind of a Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
There's like this inflection point. Everything's on the up and up, and they're doing really well, and like the families are investing the money wisely, one might say, from a business decision in a casino, even as crooked as it is, but they're all kind of crooked, right? And until there's like this inflection point about where the old boys in the old country meet the guys who are coming in from the east, the East Coast. Which I think it's supposed to be in Chicago. It's supposed to be the Chicago mob, and there's like a collision, like a culture collision, and also like a heritage collision.
Right.
And it all kind of that I think is like the point where it starts to turn, and everything from there, it's all on a downward trajectory. Like his life and his family life, even though it wasn't necessarily a great decision picking Sharon Stone's character as the mother of his children.
Well, yeah, because like you mentioned about the Greek tragedy thing. I mean, that's like the element of hubris in there.
Yes,
because she was clear from the start that, like, she was not the smart choice, and but he in his hubris is like, I can
I'll change it.
Yeah,
I'll tame it.
Yeah, exactly. And human nature being what it is, obviously, doesn't happen, and it's the source of a lot of trouble for his character.
Right, and she was kind of alpha widowed before alpha widow was a thing.
Yeah,
right.
By James Woods.
Right, but yeah. Oh man, and Woodsy. I'm just gonna tell that up. So Woodsy plays a proper legitimate scumbag and plays him so well. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, it was good to kind of get. So what are your thoughts on that? That's kind of like the synopsis. But how did you feel you got up?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, like you said, you sort of prefer it to Goodfellas, and both like being great and iconic films. I think I would say that I did enjoy it a little bit more as well. I found it a bit more like captivating and engrossing, and like it began as like all like the glitz and glamour of mob life, and then it kind of goes into a family drama, and that was so captivating just watching that unfold. Yeah, with Sam and Ginger, and just the dynamic of their relationship, and like watching the trust erode, and like the control come in because there's no trust, and like the poor little girl caught in the middle of it, and then obviously Nicky gets involved in that, and so yeah, and then,
never got involved with that broad.
Yeah. I'm in a bad spot.
I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah,
Frankie.
And then the way that all culminates, and the way that the film is bookended as well.
Yeah.
And it all comes full circle at the end, and there's a really satisfying payoff.
Yeah.
And I think like one of the great things that Scorsese does really well in his films is like interpersonal dynamics. And like intimate scenes, and like the subtleties of communication that go on between like these guys,
and body language, like,
exactly,
coded language,
exactly, like you were saying about giving the subtle warning,
these two balloon heads,
exactly,
trying to bang us out of 500 grand,
and the way that like Joe Pesci is like, his character just he plays it so well that there's like violence under the surface constantly.
Menace.
Yeah, and you can see it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I really, really enjoyed watching that. And I like I said to you last night, I remember like being a kid and going to like the working man's club, the miners, like with my granddad, like as a kid, and seeing the way that these like working class guys like communicate with each other.
Yeah,
and you see it it's the same dynamics that play in like the Scorsese films, Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, like even though these guys are making money, they're not surrounding themselves, like for the most part, in like, you know, all the glamour of it.
Gold.
Yeah. I mean, like Sam does to an extent.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like he works for them.
Right, but he's not.
But he's not one of them.
Yeah. No, he's not.
And that's a thread throughout the Scorsese films as well, I think. The same with The Irishman, and the same with with Goodfellas, with Henry. I mean, not really one of them, and neither is Jimmy Conway.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, we got Tater Dom on. Cheers, fellas.
Yeah,
good to see you. All right, straight up. We got Ocean Odyssey. We got Evening Gents. Visited Taylor Fladgate Port Lodge back in 2012.
Oh,
Port Lodge. Oh.
Sounds rubbish.
Yeah, that sounds proper.
Ocean Odyssey. That he's a sailor. He's been around. He's
okay.
around the world. Yeah.
Oh, good lad. Enjoyed the chilled white port.
Ooh,
white port. Yeah, interesting. Now I thought that's like martini, vermouth is like it's a 45 variety of white wine, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously there must be other as well. Interesting.
There's a Hungarian wine, and it's called, I don't know if it's pronounced Tokai or Tokaji, but it's like a really sweet white wine.
Yeah.
Really nice chilled.
Yeah.
It's like honey and apricot kind of. But like, and quite thick as well.
Yeah. I wonder if that's like the white variety of the Pedro Jimenez.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
maybe. I wonder if that's a trip to Mitchell's.
Yeah.
We've got Jimmy King. Hi guys, perfect weather here, and about to fire up a little Northwoods. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Tell us a bit more about that, Jimmy.
Tell us about that blend.
We've got Matt Barnett. Hi guys, how we doing? Great to see you, Matt. Great to have you back on. So yeah, we're just kind of going through picking the bones out of the Casino movie that Harry and I watched last night. So yeah, this kind of thread that like he works for them. They have associates, but they have like kind of the inner circle. So Tommy in the film's not a made guy.
No,
it's kind of him becoming made that ends up getting him in a bad spot.
Yeah,
and then with Nicky, obviously Nicky is a made guy, and he's kind of brought into Remo's like inner circle, if you like. It's like, oh, you know, Nicky, I need to talk to you. You know, nobody. You see this guy over here, he's making good money for us. You keep a good eye on him.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. That's like, so. Obviously, like Martin Scorsese is Italian, and to be in like these families, you have to be Italian,
right?
To be made. You can be an associate, like, but you'll never be made,
right?
And obviously that comes into play in like the Billy Bats murder scene in Goodfellas. Yeah, there's he's bringing into calling out that Conway is Irish, and that he can't be made, and that's like a point of embarrassment for him, and obviously that's a big thing in Casino as well, with this, obviously Sam Rothstein not being Italian, being Jewish. He's not a made guy either. He's an associate, and but those like fractures, like like where he kicks the guy out of the guy with the shoe without, he's not wearing his shoes out of the casino.
You took your shoes off. You put your feet on the table.
I told him you're a dear friend of mine. But obviously those fractures, the fact that he's not an Italian, those fractures like become a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Later in the film,
when things start to go wrong,
exactly, yeah.
Everybody's mates when everything's going well,
right? Exactly.
It's when the proverbial hits the fan, and you're looking around for support, and all you've got is other people who are ready waiting to pick you apart. So yeah, it's good. It's long as well. It's quite a long for a mob film. It's longer than Goodfellas, but shorter than The Irishman, I think.
That was long.
Which is long.
What was that, about 3.5 hours?
It's about 3.5, maybe a bit shorter than that, but it's around there, isn't it?
Yeah, over 3 hours.
I think it's well over 3 hours, and I always kind of consider like The Irishman to be like a bit like the Barry Lyndon. You ever watched Barry Lyndon? Kubrick film, amazing film. That's maybe one that we'll have to watch at some point. It's an investment, like, and it's a slow burner, and it's very one paced. But there's some amazing things about it. Like, well, why do you want to watch a film that's like that? Again, interesting about Irish, because he's an Irish rogue.
Right.
A bit of a gambler and a bit of a wrong un that ends up getting mixed up over a duel and flees flees Ireland, comes over to England.
Oh, okay.
And then kind of gets mixed up in also. It's a really long, drawn out story because effectively it's like the guy's life, right? So the guy's memoirs, similar to The Irishman, and the way that Kubrick shoots it, it's all shot with as much natural lighting as possible.
Right.
So he ends up having. So there's some scenes in there where they're in the gambling dens in like the 17th, 18th century.
Oh,
it looks
okay,
amazing. Like, I've never seen a film look as beautiful and as lush.
And who's playing?
It's name escapes me. Not an actor that I've typically seen a lot of stuff in. It'll come back to me. Hopefully, someone on the chat can bail me out. but it plays Barry Lyndon.
So it's a period.
It's a period drama, yeah. But Kubrick had to make the lenses, or to basically cannibalise them from NASA.
All right.
To make this, but like these lenses are like that, like in diameter. They're like 1.5 meters wide. They're enormous to shoot these pieces because he wants it all being lit by candlelight,
right?
Or like gaslight, or paraffin lamps and stuff. It's just amazing. Like it's great, but it's long and it's slow, similar to The Irishman. There's bits in The Irishman which are a bit more quick paced.
Yeah.
But quite slow. But yeah, going back to Casino, I think that that kind of sits just nice for me. It's like you've got that epic kind of feel to it. Like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Or just under 3 hours. I think it's 2 hours 40. But it's not. It doesn't drag, and it kind of feels like it progresses quite nicely.
Right. Yeah. Because I do see over the last few years, I have seen a trend of films getting longer.
Yes.
But very often, the runtime the content doesn't justify the runtime.
And Nolan's a bit of a bugger for it as well, I find.
Yeah, huge.
As great as he is, and there's some, again, lovely, beautiful shooting. Got a great story. There's kind of, there's holes in some of his stuff, but generally really good. Good character, good use of character and set, but bloody hell, they don't half drag sometimes. Yeah. Like the second Batman film, I thought you could have cut some of that out.
For sure.
You could have made that 2 films.
Yeah.
Tried to kind of cram too much in it. I'm sure loads of people will disagree. A lot of variety's the spice of life. Opinions are like bumholes. We've all got them and they all stink. But yeah, I totally agree. Like there's a films seem to be getting longer these days.
Well, the Scorsese flicks do justify the runtime. Just going on a bit of a tangent, something that you said there about the Barry Lyndon. You said like the lenses were like scavenged from NASA. That's interesting because in the Shining, people pick up on a theme that it's about the moon landings, right?
Right.
And the fake moon landings.
Right.
There's a bit where Danny has a sweater it's like a knitted jumper and it's got the rocket on it. I think it says 1969 on it.
Yeah.
I haven't delved too deeply into that because frankly I think there's some other themes in The Shining that are more interesting and probably more accurate. Yeah. But the other thing to say is that when they made Moonraker, I haven't actually seen the film, but I do know that there is a scene that takes place, it looks like it's in some kind of hangar or something, but they got Kubrick in to do the lighting, I want to say, for that.
Oh, right.
Or he had some involvement in it. He wasn't credited, I don't believe, but they got Kubrick in for that. So there seems to be this Kubrick space, moon kind of thing.
That's interesting. Yeah. There's Diamonds Are Forever when they kind of film in a bit where it's like a pretend moon scene. And the astronauts are trying to get Bond, but like Bond's running normally. Yeah. And they're like kind of wandering around like that. Pretty good. It's a bit campy as Diamonds Are Forever. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. I think it's not the last Connery, but it's a late Connery Bond.
Right.
And he's pretty out of shape. You could tell like that boy had a good time before making that film. He'd had a bit of sauce, and I think he'd done a bit of wick dipping before.
Of course, yeah. Well, you see him in the first. Was it Dr. No? You said he's looking slick.
Oh yeah,
because he does have a past as like a bodybuilder.
Yeah,
he's looking trim. He's well dressed. He's looking slick. Yeah. Like when he's at the casino table and he just like takes out the cigarette and smooth as
slick.
Yeah.
Doesn't mix the right martini though. Interestingly, should be stirred.
Right.
And should be gin.
Right.
If I remember rightly, I think Bruce Bar and Cocktails describes the shaken vodka martini as a Bradford. And again, if I'm wrong on that, I'm happy to be corrected.
Right.
But that's how Bruce had described it. He's a good guy and a good channel to check out. He's a Canadian guy. I got into him during the old lockdown.
Yeah.
When I started to up my game on cocktail making. And he's a funny character.
It's quite ironic because I don't imagine they drink a lot of martinis in Bradford.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair point. Not in these shoes. Yeah.
But what was I going? Yeah, I mean, speaking of drinks, and speaking of James Bond, I remember reading Goldfinger.
Yeah.
And particularly in that book, out of the Bond novels, Fleming goes into the food so much. Like I remember, there's a scene early in it where he takes Bond for lobster, and he eats lobster and buttered toast, and they have like a pink champagne with it. And there's a bit in France where he's driving around like after some smirch agent, and he gets hungry, and he's like, I need to find a butcher, a baker, and a winemaker.
Yeah.
And he gets like a loaf of bread and like a sausage and some macon. And then there's he has this like so many course meal with Goldfinger, and he serves the Mouton de Rothschild and the wine and all the food that goes with it, and it's just, it makes you so hungry. but I love the way that it went into all the drink pairings and the food and stuff.
Yeah, it was the same with the Hannibal series. And if you caught any of those, food in that, it's it almost makes you want to be a cannibal.
Yeah,
like I know it's wrong, but it looks so
Shouldn't do it.
It's like eating dog. It's like, but worse. Like dog squared. Like this is so
really
wrong.
frowned upon.
This tastes great.
I mean,
that is not the orthodox position, by the way. I'll say that right away, right now.
No, but to bring it back round, food is huge in the mob flick, in the Scorsese mob flicks as well. Like, I'm watching a video on it recently by Rob Eggers of Collative Learning. It's called Collative Learning YouTube channel. It's good if you're into movies. And he's got a video called Food Fellas, and it's about Goodfellas and the food in it, and like a lot of the language is centered around food, like a lot of the idioms and a lot of the scenes are centered around food and wine, and it all looks so good.
Well, it's interesting that because my favourite cookbook, the Mafia cookbook, by Joe Dogzianuzzi, and each of those recipes, this is probably, it may well be that he's done it for a bit of artistic license, but the way that it's done, it's like every recipe he's put it down to an episode in his life where they had a sit down.
Right.
And so he's got one where he makes a vegetarian eggplant lasagna.
Ooh.
And it's done because his capo has got a heart condition and he can't have meat.
Right.
So he's like, I'm off red meat at the moment, so can you make me something? And he makes him one of those. And then there's another where he makes caponata and some other just great recipes, great book. But every sort of dish and collection of dishes is based around like a sit down or a meeting or a discussion with some of the like firm bosses. So I think that plays a lot of it, and you see the guys in, especially on The Sopranos, and they're kind of
exactly
they sit down. They have a sit down, but like they'll eat.
They pretty much always eat, or at the very least drink together. But like it makes sense. Like food is a form of communion.
Yeah.
Obviously, like there's a shared meal, and the same stuff. You're eating the same substance as me.
Yeah.
And it's we're taking that substance into it. So it's like it's a form of communion. We're like. Yeah. So it makes sense why these meetings take place around food, and obviously, of course, as well, the Italian culture is, they're big on the culinary tradition,
and like regional as well. So like
exactly,
it's kind of a way of maintaining authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like 5 or 6 ingredients in a recipe.
Yeah,
but they're really fresh.
Yeah,
and when it's not good.
Exactly.
So all of these guys that are coming and sitting down, it's like, you want to make a good meal. So it means that you're going to get good tomatoes, you're going to get good garlic, you're going to get good oil. Yeah. And that would have come from the region that you knew and loved and respected and kind of brought with you, back from the old country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's a lot to that. So you can kind of see why that would be like kind of like a glue to kind of hold the thing together, our thing together, or the or a like a something to kind of reduce the friction. If you kind of got a tricky situation.
Yeah. Because the other thing, just from a pragmatic point of view, is you don't make good choices when you're hungry.
Right.
So if everyone's fed and everyone's had a little, glass of wine or two, everyone's much calmer now.
Yeah.
Like they say, don't go shopping when you're hungry because you make poor decisions.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good point.
So here's a tangent to take. Let's see what you think about this. So I recently went on some training with work, and the guy that took me was, the best way I can describe him was basically a Scottish psychopath.
Right.
And I don't mean that pejoratively. I mean he was he was quite impressive to some extent.
Yeah.
I've never met a guy who was such a laser-guided, focused sales machine, right? And he kind of went through the psychology and psychiatry of sales. And one of the points that he made, which I've kind of forgotten about, but it's just popped into my mind now, he said that every purchase is inducted by emotion and justified by logic.
Right.
So we buy it because we love it, we've fallen in love with it, and we're invested in it emotionally. And then afterwards is it'll probably be all right for that, and I'll keep it for this, or if I look after it, it'll last me that long. You know, it's you just define it to yourself afterwards. But the first initial impulse for that purchase is because you want it.
Yeah, and I think as pipe smokers, we know that.
I thought exactly the same.
Yeah. You open up GQ.
That pipe looks amazing.
You say, I'll look at tobacco.
Yeah.
I'll look at maybe I'll get a new tin.
Yeah.
Ooh, pipes. Whoops. Click on pipes. Ooh, they've got some new pipes here.
Yeah. 200 quid. Maybe not this month.
Yeah.
Maybe next month.
Yeah. Oh, I need that pipe for that. I need a pipe I need a knockaround pipe. I need a pipe that I can take out.
We've got 500 subs now, man. That's it. I need to get a new pipe.
I know. Yeah. You can celebrate that.
Need to put that one to bed.
Definitely, yeah.
So, what are your thoughts
on
the impulse? I think for me, it's when I've when I've spoken to people who were, because my first job was in sales, people who would come and they said, it was all about guitars. So I was selling guitars and drums and stuff, and again, it was how it would look, how it would play, and they were like, oh yeah, that's really nice. And it's quite a tactile thing, but I find that getting harder the more that we kind of go digitally. That's a harder thing to kind of do, and especially in my job where I'm not really selling a thing. It's a service that we sell. So and a lot of the time there is some necessity to it. Although I guess in that circumstance, the emotion is fear, because if they don't have it, the job doesn't go ahead.
I mean, I think that rings true for me, definitely. I mean, I try and rein. I get the impulse and I try and rein it in. I try and get to the logic before I make the purchase and think about it. Don't buy it now.
Yeah.
Sleep on it. Do you need it?
Yeah.
Will you get on without it?
Yeah.
And I've taught myself that a lot with pipes that way. Because I look at my growing collection and I don't have the racks to put them up, so they're just piling up in cupboards and stuff, and it's but the impulse is always there. Definitely. Yeah. New pipe. Yeah, I agree. But speaking of, I was really impressed with the safety razor.
Yeah.
So last night, just as I was leaving, I said to Dion that I'd bicked my head, because typically I would just buzz it down, but every now and then I'll treat myself to a little bick.
Yeah.
A little tickle right now.
That's it. Yeah. Straight to the wood.
Yeah. And so I bought some disposable bicks, and I said that I was quite impressed actually.
Yeah.
With them over the quality of more like premium ones.
Yeah.
And you said you try the safety razor. So I borrowed your safety razor. You showed me how it worked. Put the new razor in, and I because I went back over my head with it, because there was a little bits of stubble that I'd kind of missed, and I'd got a day's growth on it.
Yeah.
and I was just like, I was shocked at how just it just glided over my head, and then I like touched it, and it was like nothing there.
Yeah,
it just takes it right down to the skin.
Yeah. Those feather blades are just amazing.
Yeah,
they're really good Japanese blades.
And Japanese, and I think there's a learning curve to it.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Because like sort of used to like the flat face of the like a more modern razor, but yeah, I mean, and there was
the weight in the hand because it's quite heavy.
Exactly, yeah, and just like getting it because the edges aren't quite parallel. And,
that's right.
And yeah, so there is a learning curve to it. And in the past, I've tried a straight razor as well, and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, and I did get really into straight razors. I've got a couple of really nice ones, but for obvious reasons, they're not getting a lot of use at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a channel that I followed and I'd recommend it. There's a guy in, I think it's Chicago, called Geo Fat Boy.
Okay.
He's not actually a fat boy. He's named after a type of razor, but he's really good, and his tutorials are absolutely fantastic. And he takes you right from the prep. So there's a huge similarity between pipe smoking and shaving with like a proper hot towel shave. To the same degree, there's a difference between a vape and a pipe.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got like a buzzer. You know, you've got like a Philips one blade or something, and just like a quick blast over, and that'll probably do you. It'll fulfill a function, right? It'll fulfill a need. But with like a proper hot towel shave, there's a whole prep that's involved. There's oil underneath that you put on.
Right.
Then a first pass with lather, hot towels, get all the pores open, scrub all the soap off, oil again, soap again. So I lent some donated a bit of Old Taylor's, Taylor's of Bond Street, the shaving manufacturer in London. Whisk it up in the bowl, keep your foam nice and hot, get it all over, and you get like so that's like for your second pass, and then you do like a 2 or even 3 pass. I used to 3 pass shave.
Okay.
And then it's a cold towel afterwards with witch hazel and bay rum and seal all your pores off, and talc, and then a final go over with some skin food. So I was probably at it all together about 45 minutes doing a shave, but I would only need to shave once a week.
Right.
And it's a doctrine. There's a doctrine about it. So especially with the straight razor, you've got to strop it each time. You know, there'll be a particular time when you've got to resharpen it, you've got to hone it. So it'll need to take it to the stones. With a safety razor, you'll need to take it to pieces, clean it, new blading, gap it so that the blades are nice and level. So it's a much more tactile, much more sort of process-driven thing to have a shave. So it's something like to have a shave, right? Because it's just such a quick disposable thing these days. So even though you've got disposable blades on the safety razor, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah. So, what's the consensus on shaving with or against the grain? Like?
So I know some guys that say only ever shave with. I know some guys that say you should always do 1 pass against.
Alright.
I used to do that. The 3 passes for me were a with, an across, or an oblique cut, and then an against.
Right.
But not on everywhere. So there were bits of my face that used to get roughed up quite badly, especially under my neck.
Yeah.
And I used to get quite bad shaving rash, which is why I started doing hot towel shaving in the first place, because it cleared a lot of that up. But I think it's not either or. I think you should be doing both, even if it's just like your second pass is an oblique cut, and then you kind of touch up the bits that you really want to be absolutely skin tight. You want to get that. You're going to want to get that against the grain. But if you're going to go against the grain, you want some oil to go underneath you.
Right.
Thing to just help glide it across and keep your water really hot. I mean, as hot as your hands and your face can stand it.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me personally, I'm like, I don't keep a clean shaven face because
that's very orthodox.
Yeah, because I got nothing on here, so if I don't have anything on here,
Yeah.
then it didn't look right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I really tried to grow like a full beard.
Yeah.
But my cheeks are a bit sparse. I do see improvement like month to month. I do think that. I mean, I'm 31. You would think you were feeling, but I know there's late bloomers.
Yeah.
But for now, I've got a strong goatee area,
Yeah.
and if I keep things short, there is sort of an illusion
That's the thing.
of fullness.
You've got good contrast then.
Yeah.
And that's good when you've got a good close shave, and you're
Right.
never going to get closer than
Yeah.
a good hot towel shave. So I can definitely recommend it.
Yeah. And it's the same with your head, you know. If like,
Right.
if you are, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've had a bit of hair loss, and
Haven't we all?
if it's, but like, I remember like when it was first going, and then like I finally took the plunge and just shaved it, buzzed it down, and the difference is night and day. Because when it's shorter, it does create a bit more of an illusion of like fullness in it.
Yeah.
So it's better to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We'll have to. There's some other stuff I'll have to go into maybe on the shaving stuff, but yeah, interim. I can definitely recommend Joe Fatboy.
Yeah.
There are some other good ones as well out there. So the first one that I saw was a guy called Donny Hawley, and he had his own. He had his own barbershop in LA called Hollywood, and that was really good. I mean, that he kind of got like a nice aesthetic as well. He was all kind of dappered up. He got a bowler hat, and like cane. He kind of got a bit of a limp, so he's walking funny. So he got a really nice walking stick. He got a monocle. He just looked so good.
Yeah.
Like nice sort of 1930s cut suit, nice little thin pinstripe suit. So he got like a definite Al Capone thing going on.
Yeah.
But I don't think Holly was in the Black Book. So
Right.
but yeah, it's good. And that was an interesting watch. Seeing how he did I think it was a 14 cut. So he does a whole shave in 14 cuts.
Oh really?
And with a cutthroat with a straight razor, and you'll kind of see like some of it's like front hand, some of it's back hand, some of it's kind of across, some of it'll hold like almost like I don't know if you've seen the Japanese razors. They're straight razors, but they don't fold. They just have a handle.
All right.
So he does a couple of cuts that he does like that. There's some that he holds where he kind of pinches it, and some cuts will just use the toe. Some cuts will just use the heels. There's like he really knows his tools really well.
Yeah.
And the beauty about a safety razor is that it takes a lot of that guesswork out, so you can shave a lot quicker, but you still get a very good close shave.
Right.
Closer than you would, I think, a disposable.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So I'm a big fan of that. And again, that was probably the first time that I started to pick up on being against this disposable culture.
Yeah.
My nan bought me a book called I think it was called Look Sharp or something like that, and it was about or Stay Sharp, something like that, and it was a book about the history of shaving. My nan's a hairdresser, so she kind of got a vested interest in it. And one of the stories in that is the guy that goes to a razor shop in, I think it's Sweden.
All right.
And so it wasn't a razor shop; it was a vintage shop, like an antiques place. And he goes in, and this guy sold cutthroat razors, like vintage and restored cutthroat razors. And this young lad went in, a young lad of about 18, 19. It's pretty brave, really. Because I was still for stirring tea with downstairs, at that age. And he goes in and says, "Oh, do I really want to pay, whatever it was, like at that time, like $50, $60 for a razor? When I can get a disposable
krona."
Right? Yes. Yeah. After the government's like eating half of it. Right? And, and he said, it seems a lot of money for a razor. It's like, you don't strike me as a disposable man. So I think you should be looking at something that isn't a disposable razor.
Yeah.
We need to get out of this disposable culture, and that kind of stuck with me. And I think that was one of the things that kind of really drew me to the pipe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's
you buy right, you buy once.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or 8 times.
Several
or 20 odd times.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably on about 25 now. Maybe just under. But yeah.
Nearly there for the 25, man. You get a medal for 25.
Yeah. You should get
medal.
something. Yeah. But I totally agree with that. yeah, there's a lot to be said about maintaining a tradition, making a purchase that is going to last you, and these things always take more time.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's like it's time well spent, and it's time like what else would you be doing? You know.
I find it quite meditative as well. So like, get some covers, get some jazz on, get some swing on, get some bebop on, or some classical, and I'd put it on. And I'd have a really hot bath, or a hot shower, and I'd go and then cut straight away. Or if I didn't have time for a bath or a shower, I'd make time that I'd got good hot towels, and really make a proper job of it. I've always felt better afterwards. And I think health benefits as well, because when you're in the sauna, right, and it's really hot and you open all your pores up, then at the very end you want your cold, very 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 cold towel, ice cold if you can get it. Get some ice packs in the water, seal all your pores up, and it just clears that much crap out of your skin. Yeah, it feels so much better afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Sweden and saunas, like I got some family in Sweden, and I did the whole Swedish sauna thing.
Yeah.
It was like built. The sauna, the bathhouse itself was like built on a pier that goes out into the sea, and you go in the sauna, and then you like get straight into the sea, the cold sea afterwards. And it feels amazing. Yeah, it feels great.
It's like the lads in Russia and Serbia in the winter when it's Theophany.
Right. Yeah.
And they're all out in the ice pools.
Yeah. I said this before, but like 1 October. So we're in October now. It was 1 October probably 2 years ago. Went up with a friend to Mermaid's Pool.
Oh,
King Scout.
Yeah.
So got up at like 4:00, met up for about 4:30, and then we drove out and hiked up. And so it's like sunrise is like fairly recent by this point, and no one's there. Just strip down, and jump in, and it was unbelievably cold. Unbelievably. I mean, I got out and my lad was just inside of me. it was gone, right? But the weird thing was when I got out, I was imbued with this like energy, and I tried to move around. I wanted to like run and do push-ups. It was so weird. So this like cold therapy and like the contrast stuff, like the heat and the cold, because like these cultures, like these northern cultures, like Russia, Sweden, Norway, they know about that. Finland, they know about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That we'd had a couple of or a few days camping up in the West Highland Way, in Scotland, and we went up into the Nevis Range, and there was like a little stream that was running off the mountains, and it chucked it down for most of the holiday. But we had one day when it was absolutely scorchio, probably for Scotland scorchio. So it's like about sort of 30. But I mean, I'm a typical sort of mountain man, and I feel the heat pretty bad. And I said, "Oh, come on, have a paddle in the stream." And even in the hottest day of the year, it was freezing cold. But again, I felt great afterwards. Yeah. It was brilliant.
It does feel amazing, yeah.
So we've got B-Bud on. He says, "Hey gents, hope you're doing well. Glad to catch a stream. Just stopped by on chance." Well, as it happens, this was kind of a chance stream as well for us, wasn't it? So
yeah, exactly.
We were hooking up anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought, we'll get you guys on if we can. So, just a bit of a quick one tonight, but we thought we'd just kind of touch base with you guys. Stuff that we've got coming up. We've got, so I'd like to talk a bit more about Lovecraft.
Yeah.
On the next one. I think that'd be good.
So hopefully we'll get one more in before the end of October.
Yeah.
And do like a Halloween.
Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
We might try and do a fancy dress one. For
yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to do Rats in the Walls.
Yeah.
So that's next on the list. But also, I think I did say it'd be nice to do. So we want to do some Giallo. If we can get that in, I would also like to do for the last one before the end of the month. I'd like to do The Exorcist.
Exorcist, yeah.
So William Friedkin's an interesting character as a director.
Yeah.
He's a salty old character, or was a salty old character. God bless him. But his views on filmmaking were really interesting, and especially on what happened to like The Exorcist storyline after The Exorcist 1, right? They did some sequels and they weren't particularly.
Didn't they go up to 3? I think
they did go to 3. I think 3 was supposed to be okay.
Right.
2 I was absolutely dreadful, and then they've done a new one as well.
Did they?
We've got Highland Dunk on as well. Strange to see you on a Sunday. I know. Happy Smokes. I know. It's an impromptu one, Duncan. But yeah.
Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, man. In fact, Highland Dunk, if you just missed my story about me paddling in the river in the Nevis Range. So yeah, Dew of the Mountain. That's one thing I need to pick up. A bottle of Dew of the Mountain, the Ben Nevis whiskey.
Oh right,
really, that's a great drop. I really enjoyed that, and I've struggled to find it recently. So maybe Duncan can tell me. Is that even still a thing? Do they still make it? Is that distillery even going still? We've got Merchant Man. Hi guys, great to have you on. Thanks for joining us. So I think so going into The Exorcist, and it felt very different watching it. Since I've got chrismated, the religious and the faith aspect to it is much. It was much more prominent, and was which is kind of a weird thing to say when it's a film really about two priests. Yeah. Right. One who's kind of lost his faith, and the other one who's he's like he's a powerhouse. He's he's like fighting a good fight. And the little girl's kind of in the middle of it all almost. It's a battle between Marin and the demon Pazuzu. Yeah. But then there were kind of things that sort of led up to it where you think, that you can kind of see the trajectory. Yeah. Even when things were kind of going okay. It's a really clever film, the way that they kind of build the narrative up. I think that'd be good to do before the end of the year. Yeah. Before the end of the month. Yeah,
definitely. The Exorcist. Yeah, I've not actually really watched it since coming to faith and that. Yeah. But there's a couple of films that I have had that impact on me, like that I've seen after joining church, and like Rosemary's Baby being one. Right. That's a freaky film. That's a filthy film. Yeah. Hereditary being another one. Another demon possession kind of thing. But I watched a video recently that was on an analysis of The Exorcist, and it was Rob Eggers again, and he was going into some possible abuse themes. So like some symbolism involved with that, and some like little hints at that. Yeah. So that might be an interesting avenue to tread gingerly around. Honestly,
it's just that particular branch of the church as well. Just saying. Yeah. So we've got some stuff coming up. So we'll try and get back out. There's like I said, difficulties. There's stuff going on at home at the moment, so it's kind of not particularly easy. But I think it's good where we just feel like we can jump on a cast. So it might not always be a Thursday or a midweek thing or a Saturday, but we'll try and get a post out and get one arranged and get it sorted.
Yeah, and I might go into Fear and Hunger a little bit because I'm still playing a lot of Fear and Hunger. It's a really heavily Lovecraftian thing. Yeah. Really dark and weird. Yeah. So we could go into that a little bit.
Yeah. Essence of Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we got Jim Grudy. So, hi, what happened to the mustaches? Ooh, well, it's kind of still there.
It's kind of there, yeah. I've been taking it closer to the skin just a bit lately. Just a bit of a change. I'm hoping that if I give it a bit of time, some of these follicles will fill in a little bit. And
Jim, I'm disappointed, mate. Look, I'm trying hard here, man. I'm getting some growth here. When I went to see my barber, lovely guy, Mario at Less Than Zero, who sometimes dials in. Actually, he might be on tonight. But I said, can you leave a bit of length on this time? Yeah.
I do enjoy like a thicker mustache. Like if you go back to the first pipe cast that we did, the 1 year of smoking, I've got this huge soup strain.
Man, it's like Dick Strawbridge. It's looking good.
It was massive. Yeah, I mean, I might grow that back at some point. Yeah,
good shout. When I was doing did some Civil War reenactments, English Civil War reenactment for it was Lieutenant Colonel John Lilburn's Regiment of Foot, and I was a lowly pikeman. But it was good. I loved doing it, and at that point I had the
handlebar.
It was handlebar, and it was like the Cavalier type,
right? Like a Van Dyke.
Kinda, yeah. And I thought that took some looking after then, before I got the big full ortho beard.
Facial hair in the army is like a bit of a thing, right? Because I don't know what the rules are now, but it used to be a thing that you could, maybe if you were an officer you could have a mustache or
yeah, even the squaddies did.
Oh
so
really?
So it was quite fashionable among the squaddies in the 80s when because obviously I grew up in a military family.
All right.
Cool. And all my dad's family, were all in the military, and although my dad never had one, but like it was very fast. Like my uncle did,
right,
and a load of the squaddy lads did because they could. Right. You could do that. And then for hair, it was like you didn't have to have it all shaved off. They weren't like giant. You had to have it sort of cut, but anything below the ears, because when you got the beret on, you don't want to see any hair.
Ah, right, okay.
So there were kind of rules around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would do that.
I remember like somebody telling me, and I don't know how reliable the source is, that you could like request permission to grow a beard, but you had 2 weeks to grow a good one, and if it looked crap, you had to shave it.
Well, that was the thing as well, because I remember seeing some of the lads when they went to Afghanistan, and whether that's a kind of a cultural thing and they're going to kind of blend in a little bit,
right? But
a lot of them grew beards for that, for when they were out in Afghan. So you'd see some lads come back with some really good looking beards, some impressive looking beards, all Sam catchers. So,
I know a few special forces. It's like you can grow a beard.
Yeah. It's like, do we want?
Exactly, yeah. And they need to be able to disown you.
Right.
If they,
yeah. He's not one of us.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
got a beard.
Yeah.
We've got. So people says, have you seen The Conjuring? No, I haven't. Ed and Lorraine Warren. Any good?
Yeah, it was. It's Vera Farmiga, right?
We'll watch it.
Yeah. And that dude,
not in a weird way. It's not weird.
And that guy, I can't remember his name. The guy, but it's what are they called? That couple, the Warren.
The Warrens.
Warrens, yeah. And
Ed and Lorraine.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, yeah, yeah. That I remember enjoying that. Yeah.
It's good. And Highland Duncan says, full beard only in the Navy. Of course.
Oh right.
Of course. To keep your faces because you're gonna get battered with winds and storms and stuff, aren't you? So permission not to shave is a thing in the Navy. Then it gets assessed after 2 weeks by the coxswain. If it's
right,
if it's if it's full, it can stay, and if not, you've got to shave it off. Oh man,
how embarrassing!
That is, that's a dick measuring contest. That is, isn't it? Oh man, yeah. This is why I never went in the military. Too much like competition for me. So look, we'll maybe try and check that out as well. I mean, that might be on my watch list, The Conjuring, for the next week or so. But we'll try and get some. We'll try. It would be really good to get a Giallo in.
Yeah.
A Suspiria. Or what was the other one you mentioned as well?
Demons.
Yeah.
There's
one more.
Yeah.
There's more.
There is more.
There's more. But in any case, we'll have a look and we'll pick one, and we'll try and finish off the.
Maybe I'll try and watch the Beer and Sound Studio.
Man, we'll definitely get on that.
Yeah,
I think that's another film night. I can watch. Maybe we could do that one at yours. I've got that on DVD.
Yeah, sweet.
So we can get that on. Amazing. Okay, well, it's been good.
Yeah,
it's been a nice little impromptu cast. Thanks for joining us. And sorry we couldn't get a post out to kind of advertise, but it was definitely a spur of the moment thing. So it's great to have you all on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun. So next week is the last week of October, isn't it? So
yes, it is.
We'll try and get something in.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So that that'd be good. We can round up October.
And then I think, that's right. And then Tuesday, I think, is Halloween, isn't it? So
Tuesday is Halloween. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm taking the kids trick or treating.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll try and fit it around whatever. Yeah. Whatever we've got to compromise, we'll get one in before then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Oh, Jim, how good is it? Always late. Well, look, Jim, don't worry. Catch us on the replay.
Yeah.
And we'll get a community post
for next week. Yeah.
Listen, Jim, we're orthodox. We're late everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. It's great to have you on. Thanks, Bud, for joining us. Always appreciate you guys dialing in.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
So we'll see you.